Welcome back to another edition of a Neckbeard Reviews. I literally just finished Pantheon Season 2, and I'm so angry. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, watch Netflix, or watch Pantheon. I watched it on Netflix. It's an AMC original. I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look into Ken Liu, probably just Liu. Uh, I want to know what he's read. I want to know what he's written. I want to get to his audiobooks. Ahaha. I want to see how those, because the series Pantheon is based on the um, his short stories apparently, and he was involved. I hope he was heavily involved. It feels like he was. It felt is great series. It felt like every line was full of mimetic content. It moved fucking quickly. I hope there's a season 3, but I don't think there is. I don't know what they do, so maybe I don't. I'm still getting. I should be writing down. In a perfect world, I would have a desk that was comfortable, and I would close my computer and get off the internet, and I would write down my thoughts and the questions I had. So we're just gonna skip to the end. Why have so many West? I don't know if this is even Western. Fuck it, it's in English. We're gonna call it Western. If I can understand it, it's Western. If I don't understand it, it's not Western. On this channel, in this household, we believe like Neon Genesis is definitely not Western. It's Japanese. But like so many stories have had such incredible exposition, and then they lead to like okay, so they say a binding force called compassion. Humanity creates this low entropy, self-replicating phenomenon that creates a binding force called compassion. I think ethics are real. I don't know if I've said this publicly, but this is a good time to get into it. Like we can't see gravity, but we can pretty consistently um, see its consequences. Like when you throw, when I throw this, ooh, it fell. I have a lot of experience throwing dental floss, so I can see pretty accurately map. Like athletes have a better practical understanding of gravity than non-athletes. I think ethics are similar that we can't see them directly, but we can have a pretty consistent even if we don't understand the what's inside the watch, we understand that if we wind the watch, if we break our understanding of ethics, there are negative consequences. When we're deeply embittered, we're tempted to start to fear that low empathy people are not as directly affected by the force that is ethics that are real, that I believe are real because I've seen the consequences of behaving unethically in my own life, and I've seen my subjective experience like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Everything's different now. That's my subjective experience. But so I think ethics are real. We can only make a rough map of what the consequences of ethics are, but we don't, and we only can make a rough map of the mechanism. Obviously, if you punch someone, they dislike you. It's both an ethical action and a sort of immoral. There's secular immoral consequences. Is that person no longer likes you, and you've done. If you punch them without good reason, you've done an ethical evil. You've transgressed against ethics. But there are other things like sexual morality where it's a lot easier to say if everyone's consenting, it's fine. There's no consequences. But I don't think that's true. I don't think my lived experiences say that that's true. There's always consequences for hookups. Incels, stay virgins. Just be like rich and jacked and just be a virgin. Hold the line. Um, because, the Greeks understood that women are horny and frivolous and consumptive, and men need to be probably 10% more ethically responsible than women because their lives are so difficult. I think that's kind of true. It's possible that their vulnerability to things like assault and sexual assault and their how demanding their biological clock is means that we can give them 10-15% grace. But the irony is that, which I think the Greeks understood, is that men need to be like chaste and provide moral and ethical leadership in most cases. I don't think we're doing a good job of that in the West. I think we've been pretty cucked and emasculated. And the irony is, only in a patriarchy can men really do that. Maybe, but that in itself is not very masculine. That fact that men can only consistently provide ethical leadership in a patriarchy, because if they were truly rugged and competent and robust, they wouldn't need a patriarchy to take the ethical responsibility for the people and phenomena around them. Back to Pantheon. So many like Neon Genesis is Eastern. It's okay. I don't know what the word is. So much. We'll say this. So much fiction, not ground in, or less directly grounded in tradition, have come to this like love transcends time and space. And especially when you combine it, spoiler alert, spoiler warning. Go watch it and come back and then watch this and give a like and a subscribe and leave a glowing comment. Tell me how good I look. I've been lifting. Oh, fuck yeah. My left shoulder is, I think, better than my right. But, what I'm getting around to is I don't understand how I liked the ethics implied by the show. I'm excited to dig into the works of Ken Liu, and I think the whole team did a great job. Some of the background art in some scenes every frame wasn't a painting. For Pantheon, it's a Netflix anime. It's more about the content and how hot the fucking teenage female lead is. But I don't want to get political. So many shows have, so much work of art the exposition has had such an integrity, such a sense of integrity, and by the time you get to the end, they resolve it with like the love interests transcend time and space, and they get to live either together forever or they get to go back before the whole story started. Spoiler alert, that's how the fucking show ends. Maddie becomes a god who constructs, the details are unclear, constructs a Dyson sphere around our sun and has enough computing power to run like a ton of simulations, and she keeps trying to figure out, this is where my midwittery shows. I don't know if she's trying to figure out, there were a couple times when like in the series where Mist was like, they played kind of fast and loose. Like they'd say one sentence that implied that like Mist could only heal one person of the flaw, and then did a bunch. Like, I don't know if I misunderstood or if the writing was vague, because it moved fast, which is good for a show like this. You want it to move fast. And that's one of the strengths of the show, is like sometimes every single line serves like an exposition purpose and sort of hints or teases at a big fun ball of mimetic gristle for the audience to chew on. But so she did this Dyson sphere. Why? And how was there no, what I didn't like was, how was there no ethical responsibility for the amount of pain that she created by running simulations? I think that's wrong. At one point, I think at 2 points in the end, leave a comment if I'm wrong. Be brutally vicious to me or just be polite. But she like inhabits her old self, I think, twice in the end. And there was also a line about epigenetic memory. I don't believe. Oh fuck! The computer wants me to add effects using hand gestures. I don't believe we can store memory in genes. I don't think that's a thing. I think the powerful operating system is what we're born with, what the genes enable, and then we're given, to use a Brett Weinstein metaphor, software from our parents and the people around us and our culture. The culture is the software. The genetics creates the operating system. We're incredibly good at shifting niches. We're great. We're open. We're adaptable. But we cannot store memory in genes. I don't believe that for a second. I can't believe that the Dune Frank Herbert did that with Duncan, Idaho. That was so gay. Um, but that was one line. It was not central. I just hated the ending of Pantheon. They go back to before, and I can't think of examples other than Neon Genesis. There might have been something like A Wrinkle in Time or a Madeline L'Engle. I think of Pokemon. They like Mew wipes their memory and they go back to before. They don't remember anything. I remember being like 5 or between 5 and 10 and seeing that movie and feeling so emotional and unsatisfied. It's like that's a shitty story. It's a great movie, but the ending, I don't like it. I don't like multiverses. They're somehow fundamentally postmodern, and I'm so suspicious that someone doing sophisticated descriptions of multiverses is trying to get away with sexual immorality and sort of muddy the waters of their own actions and how they know they're behaving unethically, and they're in denial about how those decisions are affecting them. So they're like, oh, there's like an infinite number of universes. This is probably just a neurosis, but I'm glad to formalize it in this video. I hated the ending. What else did I hate? How the hell did Maddie justify but like possessing her old self? Did her old self consent to that? I would never do that. If I become a god running a Dyson sphere with infinite computing power, I would not possess earlier versions of myself. I might visit. Oh, another thing I formalized. I don't know how else to call it. Articulated. It's not formal logic. It's not going to get me a Nobel Prize. I'm not going to get a grant. In stories, time travel stuff is always becomes a cause and effect loop. And I've had that thought many times. I've just never put it in like 5 words. It's always good when you make like a sort of thought patterns that are looping into a 5-word sentence so you can quickly move on to the next thought. Oh, back to the epigenetic things. We don't store memories in our base 4 genes. We store memories in stories, and archetypes are basically the symbols of stories and the characters are metabolically efficient ways to communicate the relationships between archetypes. Oh, I'm so concussed. But yeah, we store wisdom and memories in stories, and there's probably a conscious narrative and a meta narrative. I always get them confused. It doesn't even matter. The Age of Consent is a cage. If you know, you know. I hated the ending of Pantheon. They offered Maddie to go to the galactic core. Safe Search became like a transcendent, even more transcendent than Maddie. Safe Search became a transcendent consciousness, computation, phenomenon, being, a transcendent being that apparently they moved to the edge 43 to the edge of the galaxy, and then they could see everything because time and space is relative. I have a vague intuition of this. I don't know. I'm willing to buy that. It makes me feel smart. And then they invite her to the Galactic Center to see even more transcendent goodness. And instead, she goes back to before the world ends. And so what? She has to do it all over again? What? What? She has to relive that bullshit? So she's not possessing her old self with her current consciousness. She's reverting back to herself before the UI's, the whole UI debacle. Why? That's so dumb. Why move backwards? Let me know if I'm missing anything. I will read. I can't resist. Thank you for listening. What else? No edits, no filter. Got my guitars and my parents' storage behind me. Real as can be. Thank you for listening. Good night. Well, I watched what I recorded back, and she didn't even go back in time. Did she? Or did she go back into a simulation of time? Her own simulation of the past, which is not the past. Am I wrong? Is this fundamentally postmodern? What am I missing? That's why would you do that? Go back into a simulation of your own past? Pretty gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that.